Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening. Welcome, everybody. We do not have any announcements, proclamations, or presentations tonight. Moving on to the council committee reports. Cecilia, do you have a finance committee report?
Yes, the Finance Committee met last week, and we recommended for approval item 7B on the consent agenda, and we also discussed the timeline for the 2027 budget.
All right, thank you. So we'll move to department reports. Monica Heltz, the director of the Health Department, has put together the Health Department report. It's available online. On to item number 7, the consent agenda consists of 2 items. A request to approve the previous meeting minutes from the June 15th, 2026 meeting, and resolution R061526, authorizing the city controller to transfer certain funds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Todd, a second by Tiffany. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hello, Bill.
Hello, Mr. President.
All right.
You need that every month like that.
All right. No items for business financial on the agenda tonight.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could we please have Police Chief Ed Gebhardt come to the podium and explain the fundraiser that was done today between the police and the fire?
You want to talk about that, Ed?
The police and the fire had a rib eating contest this afternoon, and the police beat the firemen in eating ribs.
I would have put my money on fire. I was surprised.
All right. No. Yeah. Thank you, Brad. Okay. Next on item number 8, resolution R072026A, a request to approve a confirmatory resolution for the patch development abatement. Oh, is it not there? Sorry about that.
Apologies, that's been.
Well, we needed to notice for a public hearing, and we weren't able to get that done in time. So we're pushing that to the August meeting. Apologies for any confusion.
Okay,
on that.
sorry, yeah. All right, we'll go on to number 9. Ordinance 072026, request to create and add Chapter 120 of the Fishers Code of Ordinances establishing designated outdoor refreshment areas, DORAs, within the Nickel Plate District and the Fishers District. Oh, Reed.
Check.
There we go.
Thanks, everybody. This is a designated outdoor refreshment area. We believe that this ordinance will provide another tool to strengthen our downtown and Fishers districts by supporting local businesses, encouraging walkability, and creating an engaging visitor experience. We think we can do this while maintaining the operational controls and public safety measures necessary for responsible implementation. There's a definition here for DORA. I think most people here are familiar, but it's clearly defined in state statute as people aged 21 and older may purchase alcoholic beverages from participating businesses and carry those beverages outdoors within the designated boundaries. So we are looking to do 2 different districts, and I'll take you through these 2 maps. This is our Nickel Plate district, obviously the downtown core here. If you can see the blue outline and everything inside that it will be the DORA. Anything outside would not be allowed. On the map, you can see black dots along the edge where we will have border signs alerting pedestrians of entering and exiting the DORA. So we walked the perimeter, and these are all of the obvious entrances and exits to the area. So it should be obvious when a pedestrian is entering or exiting. Temporary vendors will also be allowed to participate. So before I get to that, if you just take any normal day, any restaurant located inside this area would be allowed to participate. A citizen could come in, purchase up to 2 drinks per patron, obviously if they're over 21 years old, and then exit the premise and walk throughout this district. The red borders are designated for temporary vendors. We've all been to events in the Ellipse where we already have these temporary vendors. The only difference would be that they would be allowed to participate in DORA and serve those drinks. Our second district is our growing Fishers district, just south of 116th Street. One thing I want to point out on this one is we intentionally excluded the slate, and our ordinance itself will exclude all residential areas that are located in these districts, so folks aren't meandering through people's driveways and yards and such. There is a path from the yard at the Fishers districts up on the north side of the map here, all the way down to the event center that folks will be able to use. If you notice, there is a place where we'll post a sign that folks will not be able to go outside that path up near the slate. We're going to mimic the existing branding for both the Nickel Plate district and the Fishers district for our signage and for our cups. We actually held a webinar with some of the restaurants who located in both of these areas and got some good feedback that they prefer us to provide some stickers for them that they can then reorder and place on their already existing plastic cups rather than do cups. If anyone's been to our neighboring communities, they have their own cups. We'll just do these stickers so that they can keep their costs down. A few items here. We have some sanitation and safety plans that have been created alongside DPW and the police department. We're not expecting anything outrageous, but we want to make sure folks know and that our departments know that this is going on and that we have some additional sanitation and safety measures to take place. We will develop a landing page that will be on our website that can be accessed through a QR code that will be on all of the signs on the border of those maps that people can access and see FAQs, the rules, the maps, things of that nature, along with the hours that you can see there. And then our timeline that we're hoping to achieve is, this is the first reading, obviously. The August City Council meeting will be the second and final reading, and then we're hoping to go live September 1st. That'll all be depending on our ATC application, of course. That's with the state. And then, yes, I'm here to just answer any questions that you may have.
I have a few questions. Number one, as we continue to develop, especially like on the south side of 116th Street, and we continue to develop over with the event center, what's the opportunities to expand the district?
Yeah, our ordinance will be written so that we can expand the district if we choose to. And then as new restaurants come in, they will be allowed to join, even if they're existing restaurants that didn't want to join at first, they can join that upon approval of our BZA. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so a business that's in there they can choose to join, they can choose not to join. Have you had any businesses kind of push back on this or have any concerns about it at this point?
We really haven't. We've spoken to a number of businesses, and we held that webinar and got a extremely positive response. We have 6 businesses now. I think I skimmed over it, but 6 now that have confirmed that they want to join, and I expect several more to join before our August council meeting.
Quick question. As we balance the pros and cons of this, are there metrics that your office will be keeping just to make sure that we're getting a good return?
That's a great question. I think we'll be monitoring the general community engagement. I'm not sure exactly how we will measure that. Maybe we can partner with some of the existing businesses and see if
I think, Chief, it's probably more on the downside than the upside. I mean, obviously the restaurants will benefit from any alcohol sales we make, but the metric that we'll be watching carefully is the guy standing over my shoulder here. Whether we start to see, for whatever reason, any kind of law enforcement issues.
Yeah, we leave them on to that side, bring that information forward once the thing starts. Any calls for service or calls to needs for intoxication, over intoxication will be monitored by us.
All right, thank you, Chief.
I have a couple questions, John. Checking of IDs, then, how would that work? Will there be wristbands or anything for people walking around to ensure that?
So that'll still be on the restaurants themselves that they purchase the alcohol from. And once they exit the the business that they purchased it from, they cannot re-enter. And they would not be able to obtain that stickered cup without purchasing from an already participating business. So it would go back to it'll be on the restaurants themselves.
Councilwoman Coble, I think your point or your question is, if I was 19 years old and decided to grab a beer out of my car and walk around drinking that beer, that would obviously not be legal because he's not 21, but also you have to have a designated cup with a designated sticker that would come from a restaurant that's participating that would have to follow all ABC laws. So you can't just, there's a false notion here that you just like decide to go downtown and walk around with any kind of alcohol. It would have to be in a designated cup. Is that fair?
Correct.
No, I get that, but cups can be shared, you know what I mean? I don't know. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we've got good measures to kind of ensure that we're going to not have underage drinking going on, you know. So that's what I was wondering with the ID situation. And then, so the cups, are they recycled or?
Yes.
So you
Yeah,
can,
they'll be in a clear plastic cup and can be recycled or thrown away in our existing bins.
okay, thanks.
Okay. First reading?
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yeah, Bill.
I just want to understand this a little bit more. Is this a 7-day-a-week activity, or is it restricted to the weekends?
It'll be 7 days a week. The current schedule is predominantly noon to 11 p.m. And then we're toying with the idea of putting in the summer hours, or the summer days, having some morning hours there specific to the nickel plate districts. But yes, it would be 7 days a week.
So let's just take, for example, the Fishers District, where you have hundreds of residential housing. I'm just imagining patrons walking about with alcohol in their hands until 11 p.m. at night. Seems kind of late if they're near residential housing, or am I understanding this wrong?
That's correct. The residential portion of the maps is excluded in our ordinance, so they shouldn't be meandering through the neighborhoods.
Okay.
However, I guess to get to maybe the core of what you're asking, I mean, public intoxication laws still apply. Whether they're carrying a cup or not, they can't be publicly intoxicated and walking throughout the city.
Well, what my bigger question is, 11 o'clock seems really late for a Monday night to be walking about with alcohol in your hands if you're anywhere close to a residential premises.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
I'll go first reading if
Okay,
nobody else
first
has.
Well, I think that, I want to emphasize that point too. I mean, that's why this is a first reading, for you guys to really give us some of your feedback. And if there are recommendations for adjustments, we can talk between now and the next meeting. If there's, to Councilmember Stewart's point, if weekdays 11 o'clock seems too, I mean, the whole point is to socialize this idea, get some feedback from our council members and work towards a common solution here as we go through the process. So we look forward to your feedback. If you have any additional feedback, shoot us an email. We'll collect all that and try to come back with some additional modifications.
And again, even if it goes a year at that particular time or whatever, we get data from police or whatever, there's residents, there's issues for this time, we can always bring it back and adjust the time, so, yeah.
With them walking around, we're probably gonna need more trash receptacles all over.
Yeah. We'll have to definitely contemplate those types of things for sure.
And for the folks who are watching at home, now is the time to send the emails, please.
Yeah,
There you go.
for sure.
Tip,
Thank
Oh,
you,
yeah, Zimmerman.
Didn't listen to you. Thank you, Reed. That's first reading. All right, next on the agenda, item number 10, ordinance 072026A. I request to amend Chapter 72, standing, stopping, and parking, and Chapter 75, parking schedules of the Fishers Code of Ordinances. Whitney.
Good evening, council. I'm Whitney Wampler, Assistant City Attorney. This is the first reading to amend Chapter 72, stopping, standing, and parking, and Chapter 75, parking schedules of the Code of Ordinances to include enforcement of certain parking limitations within city-owned or leased parking garages. Indiana Code 36-9-11-3 authorizes the city to regulate parking facilities and includes parking garages that are owned or leased by the city and are used for off-street parking of vehicles. I respectfully request that council approve the changes so we can move on to second reading next month. Do you have any questions?
I'm so sorry. What exactly are the changes?
So,
I read the document, but it was not redlined, so I couldn't tell what the additions were.
gotcha. So, the changes that were made are that there are some parking spaces in the, I think it's the Slate Garage that are for a specific business that are labeled. They already have placards for that business, and we are wanting to enforce that individuals who only have parking tags for those businesses can park there during essentially business hours.
Okay.
First reading. Any other questions?
First reading.
First reading.
First reading.
All right, thanks, Whitney. All right, next, number 11, it's going to be again, ordinance 072026B, a request to amend Chapter 91, animals of the Fishers Code of Ordinances.
Did we get both? Okay.
No, you're right. That's what I have to. Okay. So again, Whitney Wampler, Assistant City Attorney. This is the first reading for Chapter 91 of the Code of Ordinances to implement best practices regarding the conditions in which animals can safely remain outdoors. Additionally, there was a printing error on American Legal. The section numbers that passed in the original ordinance don't match the section numbers that were posted to American Legal, so a lot of these changes the point was to mirror those so that they match now. We did make a few additional changes. We amended the definition of competent person to include a person of age, maturity, and mental and physical capacity who can safely control, restrain, and care for an animal. We updated the definition of proper enclosure to say animal rather than dog. We eliminated the definition of dangerous animal because the provision that substantively determines that an animal is dangerous included a lot of that definition already, so we just updated the substantive provision to include the additional items from that definition. And then we included some additional words where, so under like 91.07B, we added shall provide proper enclosure by fencing. So there were some technical and conforming changes as a result of the changes that we made to the definitions. And then we added a bonding requirement to the enforcement provision to require an owner of an impounded animal to pay the costs of impoundment and care for that animal prior to the animal's release.
I read through that. I thought it was really, really well laid out. I loved how it had provisions for people who find themselves with pets that bitten people. It gave them just a course to follow if they fall into that category of having a dog that's bitten people. I also love that it gave people a lot of time, and it didn't really reference like putting the dog down. So I think it's a very humane approach to people who have dogs that have had unfortunate incidences. So thank you, it's very well written.
I can tell you, Councilwoman Dellison, that, and Chief would back me up on this, some of the most controversial issues we deal with are when it comes to these animals. If there's someone who gets bit in the neighborhood, can tear the whole neighborhood apart. So I think it's good to lay out a very clear path and clear lanes of accountability if something were to occur.
Also, I liked in there, I got a phone call last summer from a resident who had their dog outside, and, people were calling the police. I think I might talk to Chief about it. People had called the police because the dog was outside, and he's like, I'm home, it's during the day, the dog's outside for an hour, and his neighbors were going crazy. I really think that it helps to educate neighbors who might be trying to be overly helpful So I'm really excited for this. So good job.
First reading?
First reading.
Yep, first reading, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yep. I'm going to turn the gavel to Vice President Ditlevson for the next item.
Moving on to item 12, 072026C, consideration of a rezone of .83 acres from the drive planning PUD to the Citizens Bank PUD to allow for a bank with a common address of 13562 East 116th Street. We have Ross here.
Good evening. For the record, Celery Community and Economic Development. As mentioned, this is ordinance 072026C, known as the Citizens State Bank PUD request. This is a consideration of a rezone of .83 acres from the existing drive planning PUD to the new name of Citizens State Bank PUD to allow for a bank. The common address of this is 13562 East 116th Street. Those of you familiar with this, this is right next to Moorberry Dentistry, south of the Kroger there on Oleo and 116th Street. This is an existing vacant single-family home. Citizens State Bank is requesting a rezone of this property to build a 4,400 single-story bank, which includes a drive-through. Here you can see the site plan that is included in the PUD packet. Again, mentioned 4,400 square foot, single story. There are several conditions very similar to the drive planning PUD that are included in this ordinance. Those shall include that the real estate be limited to a single tenant, 100% owned by the occupant. Limited business hours 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, and 8 to 1 on Saturday. The business would be closed on Sunday. The building is limited to 4,500 square feet. They are proposing 4,400. The building shall include predominantly pitched roofs as it relates to residential architecture. A building height maximum of 24 feet. All existing hardwood and deciduous trees on the real estate are to be preserved to the greatest extent possible. A maximum amount of parking spots, a reduction in signage allowance, as well as limitations on lighting. Included in the PUD as well is some renderings. You can see here, the one on the top is what you would see from 116th Street. The one on the bottom is what you would see from their parking lot. The drive-through that is shown on this concept plan would be on the north side of this property, as shown there. A proposed timeline for this, first reading tonight. We do anticipate this going to Plan Commission on August 5th. And final reading back here before council, if you guys have first reading tonight, would be August 17th. This is something that has had several community neighborhood meetings already with Country Lane Estates. So we have requested, they have another one with that neighborhood, and provided from the petitioner, they have declined to have that because they've had lots of conversations already. So with that, I'd like to introduce Kevin Buckeye with Craig Duvall to go over a couple more items.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name, for the record, is Kevin Buckheit. I'm a land planner with the law firm Krieg DeVault at their Carmel office. With me tonight, if there are questions that go in that direction, are representatives from the bank and then the real estate and engineering advisors as well. The site is about 1,000 feet west of the Oleo Road intersection with East 116th Street. Non-residential north, east, and west of them. Single-family residential across 116th Street to the south. Ross covered a lot of my information here, so I'm trying to parse out so I don't waste much of your time here. The conversations with the neighbors were pretty extensive and repeated, and that with touch points in between communication with our real estate advisor in order to keep the conversation moving forward. And we realize not everybody's going to buy into what is being proposed here, but we believe that through these extensive discussions, we have achieved somewhat of a consensus of what's the images that you have seen before us. The architecture was one of the issues that was raised earlier, and the images that are before you have been, oh, I can do this, there we go, have been revised to include the images that are in your packages. It's sort of a more modern take on residential architecture, reflective of mid-century modern from about 60 or 70 years ago, that has come back today in large leaps and bounds for not only single-family residential and smaller retail, but for multifamily projects as well. So we've got that's the south elevation there, and this is the east elevation that will face their parking lot. One of the other major points of discussion was about the drive-through facility itself. The original plans that started with all the discussions showed the typical wraparound drive-through exit going around the east and then south sides of the building. And through our discussions with the neighbors, came up with an opportunity to shift the building a little bit to the south, which allowed enough room on the back northwest corner for that drive-through U-turn loop that allows the drive-through traffic to turn back on itself and enter back through the parking lot to the access point on 116th Street. The drive-through is an important part of Citizens State Bank's business model. It's for convenience of their patrons during the day and for security during the evening hours so that they can make their deposits and other financial transactions from the security of their own vehicle, not having to leave their vehicle and walk across the parking lot to a drop box, if you will. So the request is, again, to send us forward and let us go through the Planning Commission with their public hearing process to amend the drive planning PUD. Drive planning, the entity is no longer in the picture. And frankly, any other use other than drive planning is going to have to go through the process that we're going through here. We want to make sure we did it right by engaging early. I think I'll stop there, and if you have any questions, and we'll try to answer those.
Will we give a first reading?
Well,
I have
statements. I have a statement and a question, but you want to go ahead?
Yeah, ladies first.
You know, I just, there's going to be 2 roundabouts that's built in this area, and then you have a stoplight there. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think this is the right location for a drive-through. Additionally, as we put the overlay in and we talked to the neighbors in this area, one of the things that we tried to do, and I know with the property that was going to be developed here before, we had talked about having this property kind of match the architecture in style of the dentist office next door and really making it look more of a residential. I know this is more of a modern residential look, but in kind of matching the dentist office. I just don't know that this is the right location for a bank at this point.
Wonderful renderings. I like the look. Love that you want to be in the community. I think that's awesome. I don't think we've addressed, I feel like back when we talked about this whole stretch, we had a pretty contentious issue, I can't remember, a year or 2 ago with regard to a salon, and we went back and forth with that and the residents and everything. And one of the things that we came away with is we were going to look at that area and kind of like a test of what are those pocket properties? What should we be doing with those pocket properties? So that statement is separate from whether it's Citizens Bank or any, this is not a conversation about or information directed at Citizens Bank or your presentation. I just want you to understand that, okay? There's history behind this area, and I'm sure you're well aware of that. So I would have a very difficult time approving anything that would have a drive-through in this area. We're already, I think we're presented, the church right next door, I believe, wants to have daycare, and it's hard to say no to daycare, but I would say no to daycare in that area because it just adds more traffic to an already congested area. And I feel like we have not had that conversation, and maybe I missed it, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've had that conversation in depth of what those pocket properties really should consist of, so that petitioners know exactly what they're getting into coming in here. So I would not even recommend a first reading, just simply for the fact that we had this conversation. I felt like we agreed to this, once again, a year ago or whatever that was, that we were going to talk about these properties, figure out a strategy behind it, and what really is best use there. So that's.
And I think, Todd, Councilmember Zimmerman, to that point, this was rezoned into that kind of orphan property overlay.
Okay.
To be specific, and Ross can speak more intelligently than I can to it, the use itself would be permissible if not for the drive-through. Is that fair, Ross?
So correct. Essentially, what we did, you did already look along a lot of these major corridors. So we did two things within the UDO. We have the commercial impact overlay district. So that identified those existing single-family residential properties. That a lot of them are still existing single-family, and that didn't change anything. What that did give direction to is when a developer or someone comes along and says, hey, I want to make this something else, they are, the intent is that they start with the CLO, which is the commercial impact district, which has a very limited amount of uses. They take a dentist, for example, a nail salon, but something like a daycare or a bank is not allowed within the CLO district. And so essentially, if they were rezoning it to CLO, we would be adding a use to it. So that's something that we can do. Regards to timeline, this was already part of that drive planning PUD, so it did not need to be identified within that overlay district.
Okay.
Ross, what's the timeline for the new roundabout at 116 and Oleo?
I believe that's next year. The construction would start at 116th and Oleo, and then there's also a roundabout at 113th and Oleo. So there's two roundabouts that will be going in that area. So there will be more kind of continuous traffic, if you will, headed eastbound and westbound off the roundabout.
Elevation's fantastic. The presentation's fantastic. So I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. This is something that goes back a ways, and we have residents that are impacted right there, and the construction, and the, type of congestion that we're experiencing there and everything. I definitely couldn't approve, I would not approve or vote for a drive-through in that area, and I just don't see how that would even function for your business model.
One of the things I appreciate about this is how far the setback is for the south side of the building. I mean, it's starting at the end of the house. I mean, I really feel like they were very, that they used a lot well to get that bank away from the street front. So I think you guys did a good job.
Todd, I understand the comments about drive-through, but a bank drive-through is not fast food where they're going to be backed up all the way to 116.
Yeah,
The only nice thing about a bank drive-through is I'm not parking and walking in.
Right.
And I don't know if you have any data on how many people on the average use a drive-through in the bank. I don't go to the bank that often, but when I do, I'm the only one in the bank, and the whole time I'm in the bank, nobody has gone through the drive-through.
Yeah.
So because of technology these days, technology takes care of banking. You don't go to the bank like you used to. Right. So I don't see a problem with this. It's hidden in the back. You aren't even going to see it. And you turn around and come back out. It looks like he parked where the window says drive up. I parked there and I went in and I came back out and there's nobody behind me. I don't think, unless I'm wrong, at least the bank, I've never, do you have any data on how many a day do?
We have looked into the traffic generation for this type of use, and particularly for Citizen State Bank, and it's surprisingly lower than you would expect and not in line with the typical drive-through bank that you see in the trip generation manual that engineers use to project these things. This is also part of the discussion, the drive-through itself with the neighbors, and I talked with Ross earlier, some additional language we're going to add to this. If we're successful in getting approval here, we have the drive-through. If another financial institution comes in, they have the drive-through. No other land use. The other important point here, to be clear, is that the base zoning for this PUD is C1 commercial. And in the C1 commercial district, there are no food services at all. So there would be no risk of getting an ice cream shop or a fast food restaurant of any kind in there without coming back and having a discussion with you. But we can package that information out for you and bring that back with more detail. And with due respect, we would still like to move forward.
I mean, just look at the dental. How many cars are there? There won't be half that many at the bank.
Mainly
So the use we have there, I think, is better than another dental office. It would be less cars coming in and
And I
out
just
of
think
there.
it sets a precedent. That's just where we disagree. I think it sets a precedent that I don't want to, because then the next thing comes along and the next thing and all these pocket properties. So that's just my take.
Great conversation. Is somebody going to give it first?
Stephanie, I have some comments too. Yeah, I echo Todd's sentiments because it was contentious, and I think I had brought it up that, to kind of have more guidance as to that whole corridor, the best type of use, and it's not clear to me. I'm worried about traffic impact. Do we have a traffic study or anything like long-term future with the roundabout proposed there, going in there in the future? How all that's just, there's a lot of commercial going in and out. I'm also concerned about the drive-through situation there. But,
So Ross, quick question. What, with the current zoning, what can go there? You said a nail salon?
No, the current zoning, a financial institution, essentially what Drive Planning was doing.
Okay.
So nothing else can go there. It was pretty locked down.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Bill.
I'll give it first reading.
Fantastic.
I think, listening to all the council members' feedback, we will be sure to have a thorough traffic analysis for the next meeting. As we get into this process, as we get into the plan commission, obviously with the new roundabout coming in, that plays heavily in the consideration. So Mecky's not here tonight, but first thing tomorrow morning, we'll have that conversation. We'll make sure that we're up to speed.
Fantastic.
Hey, thank you for presentation.
Thank you. You've got first reading, and I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, thank you. Item number 13, ordinance 072026D, consideration of a rezone of 10.45 acres from Legend at Geist PUD to the 116 PUD for a 32-lot, single-family residential neighborhood known as 116.
Thank you for the record. Ross Hillary, Community and Economic Development. As mentioned, this is ordinance 072026D. This is a request. There we go. Request of 10.45 acres. This is an existing place of worship, and it is part of the Legends at Geist PUD. There is a request tonight to have a new PUD created called the 116 PUD for a 32-lot, for-sale, single-family residential neighborhood. The common address that exists today is 10401 East 116th Street. On that 10.45 acres, they're looking again for a for-sale single-family residential neighborhood. 8 of those homes will be rear-loaded and 24 of those homes will be side-loaded. Here is the concept plan that can be found within the PUD. This would consist of a new public road that would be there in that circle. The areas marked out in pink or red would be some sort of private alley drive. As mentioned again, lots 1 through 8, which is along that north side, would be rear loaded, and then lots 9 through 32 would be side load, where you come in on the side from your garage. Proposed timeline right now for this is first reading tonight before council. There would be a required neighborhood meeting that will likely be scheduled in August. The public hearing for this would go before Plan Commission on September 2nd, with final reading at council on September 21st. Part of this would also include landscape buffers that would exist on the east, south, and west side. That has been very common now with these infill residential projects. Even though it is residential to residential, we are aware, and so is the developer, that the trees that have existed there need to be protected. Included in the PUD is some architectural renderings. Again, the rendering on, or the image on the top is what you would see along 116th Street. That would be the rear loaded. And then images on the bottom would be architecture that we would expect to see with a side load product. These are included in the PUD, but would be required to go before our PUD committee for approval. With that, I'd like to bring up Michael Merchaud to go over a couple more items.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Michael Merchaud. You know, before I get started, I don't mind the Legends at Geist PUD. Kind of like the name, so maybe we can work that into the current PUD. Anyhow, Ross covered this pretty well, so I think we can really open this up to questions.
How come you aren't observing our zoning with 10-foot side setbacks instead of 5? 5 do not work. It's a disaster in Britton Falls. I've had HVAC people contact me this week. Why does Fishers allow 5-foot setbacks? They can't even service HVAC without trespassing on the lot next door. This is getting ridiculous. We have proven by approving these for the last 11 years I've been on here, nothing but problems with the homes with 5-foot side setbacks. My opinion.
Should I respond?
Oh, the other thing, the 20-foot rear setback. Britton Falls has a 20-foot rear setback, and for 2 years, 75% of the BZA filings were from Britton Falls only, one subdivision in Fishers, because nobody could add a porch to set outside. 75% of the BZAs every month for 2 years. We finally had a special pest order just for one subdivision so they could add a 10-foot patio on the back and set outside. You've got the same thing, a rear 20-foot. You can't add a patio on any of these homes.
Well, I think these lots are a bit deeper than the community you're speaking about, so we shouldn't have any issue with fitting outdoor living, which will absolutely be a part of all of these homes. So I appreciate that, but I don't think that'll be an issue in this community based on the depth of these lots.
What are the depth?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I think they're somewhere over 110.
And what's the depth of the house?
Well, these houses are going to all be custom built, so those are not necessarily set.
That was one of the things I didn't see. So you said they're all going to be custom builds. What do you anticipate the price point for the neighborhood to be?
Price points are probably going to start in the 900 range, maybe get to the 1.5, 1.6.
I have a quick question. Were you
I'm
still
done.
going? Okay. And that's not so much for you. And I don't know, Chief, I'm putting you on the spot, so you may not know this off the top of your head. I am concerned with accidents right there and with the congestion because of spyglass. We've had, not to your problem at all, we've had significant issues over the years with regard to, you know, I fear when you have that neighborhood meeting, that's going to crop up because of people trying to turn right, turn left especially, getting out of there and then adding this to that load right there. Could be a challenge. So I don't know if there's, once again, I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot because maybe you don't have that right now. No, this is just the first reading.
Well, it's been a lengthy discussion, as Larry's covered many of Public Works meetings about that particular issue. We do plan to put a stoplight
That's Spyglass.
in at, Tiffany, you'll get this.
Spyglass Falls.
Spyglass Falls, I get the
Yes.
two intermixed, but that should provide some relief for everyone in that corridor. And when we were considering that intersection or that light, it was in anticipation that at some point this would develop. so that people would have some natural breaks to be able to make left and right turns out of there.
Okay.
Well, along with that, doesn't our ordinance require 2 entrances and exit to a subdivision? There's only one here.
Only if there's more than 50 lots.
50, oh, okay. Thanks, Ron.
Mayor Fadness, what's the timeline for the stoplight?
Fiscal 27 is my anticipation, so sometime next year.
Fantastic. And this is more a question for Ross. But when this comes to planning commission, will it come to planning commission?
Of course.
It will?
Yes. Yes.
So when it comes before us, I'd really like to see like an update on the housing study and the like a dashboard. Because 4 years ago when we did the housing study, we were really trying to fill gaps. And it'd be really great to see where we are and where this project would take us in addition to some of the other things that we have in the mix, because we want it to create, more homes. So just seeing how we're doing there. And then also, kind of going back to Todd's point, a traffic study for 116th Street. Maybe we've already got, do we have recent data for the traffic on 116th Street? Because I'd imagine with 32 homes, it'd probably be 60, 70 more cars on 116th Street.
Yeah, similar to the other item that was mentioned before, I'll have a discussion with Director Mickey on this property as well as the other one mentioned. In regards to the housing study and dashboard, that's something staff can do and provide to you outside of this particular one.
Yes.
I think one item to think about with this project that there might be a little more ambiguity. Normally, for the last several years, we've seen only production developers who have already basically laid out exactly what every home's going to look like and the footprint for them. This project is custom homes, so we can't say definitively exactly what each lot is gonna look like because we don't know what the design preferences of the folks that are gonna be in there. It's been a minute since we've had a completely custom home-built neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I think we need to think about that as we go through the plan commission process, because there's gonna be a little more ambiguity.
And I think that's a really great thing with the custom. You're not trying to put 200 homes on this plot of land, and I think that's a really great thing for our community.
And as we take this in consideration, was there any communication of, or interest of the residents to the east, those homes, of wanting to be part of this, or I don't know if that, or if we shouldn't, I don't know.
So
There
to
have
the
been
east,
many versions of this, including some of those
Okay.
properties, and this kind of ended up, for many different reasons, ended up being kind of the sweet spot.
Okay.
There's also been a fair amount of conversation with Spyglass, which one is it?
Hills.
Sorry, with this development. And to the petitioner's point, Megan and Ross have met with them for close to a year maybe, going back and forth with different iterations of development, trying to get to the right mix of lower density and custom or higher end product. So, this is certainly not the first conversation that's been had about this project.
and with the PUD, it will not be more than 32 homes. It will be set at 32 homes.
Correct, yes, that's within the language. We brought up the access points, and that was something that had been discussed as well. The comprehensive plan calls, even if we don't have 50 lots, typically for a stub, but with the conversation with Michael and the team, there's not an opportunity for the stub to the west, and with what we anticipate developing or staying the same on the Becker Place property there, it did not seem appropriate either to put a stub there, so that is why the concept plan shown tonight is how it is.
It's a little sad for me because my oldest son, who's now 24, when he was 5, we had his first little baseball game right there.
We'll keep the games going there for as long as we can. I love
So, no, I know, you can't, I know, I understand that, but it's, yeah, just seeing that on the map, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's interesting.
John, I had just a couple comments. Just traffic, I'd love to, again, it was brought up, the traffic study. Also, I like the fact that it is custom and it's not, I like the drawings, the renderings that you have here as examples. I kind of like that. Would like to hear more about what the neighborhood, after that meeting, what comes out of that discussion with the neighborhoods. So.
And, I do like the custom homes, and go back to what's going to be on 116th facing. This looks very much like Carmel, And as I'm thinking this through, as I drive down 116th Street, it's going to look like a hodgepodge of different things.
Well, there's an evolution of development in Fishers from west to east, for sure. We'll work on the architecture with them. These are conceptual at this point, so I'm confident that Megan and Ross we can work together to come up with something that fits the area, but also kind of leans in to the higher end nature of this development.
Yeah.
This is for reference Jackson Grant in Carmel.
Okay.
And entertain first reading.
First reading.
Thanks. All right, next, thank you. Next on the agenda, number 14, ordinance 072026F, request to approve the voluntary annexation of approximately 1.37 acres known as the Braley property.
Yes, Ross Hillary, Community and Economic Development. Ordinance 072026F is the Braley annexation. Background on this is 1.37 acres. This is an existing single-family home. New subdivisions around here provided the opportunity to connect this property to our sewer system. As part of that, annexation is a requirement. We anticipate having first reading and public hearing here tonight, and then a final reading and fiscal plan in August. Happy to answer any questions.
No questions, I'll open ordinance.
First reading. First reading.
No, we gotta do a public hearing, don't we? Yeah. Yeah.
Public hearing.
Ordinance 072026F for a public hearing. If you wish to speak, you may come to the podium and address the council. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll be given 3 minutes on this item. All right, seeing no comment, I'll close the public hearing. Thank you, Ross. I would take the first reading. All right. And see you next month for the second reading. All right, next on the agenda, item number 15, ordinance 072026G, request to approve the voluntary annexation of approximately 11.54 acres known as the Buckhaven property. Ross?
Ross Hillary, Community and Economic Development. The property address on this one is 11798 and 11842 East 131st Street. These are two parcels that are adjacent to each other on 131st Street. If you look on this map, there is a storage facility right there at that corner near I-69. As mentioned, 11.54 acres. There is a proposed 23-lot single-family neighborhood you guys saw here at council prior. This is currently going through the rezone process, and we anticipate this going to Plan Commission next month. But as part of that, we'd like to start the annexation process. A 23-lot single-family neighborhood, they would require to have sewer connection. Tonight is first reading and public hearing with an anticipated final reading August 17th. That would be the same night that you guys would see that rezone come back before you. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, now I'll now open ordinance 072026G for a public hearing. If you wish to speak, you may come to the podium and address the council. All right, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing.
First
Entertain
reading.
First reading. First reading. Anybody? Huh?
Cecilia.
First reading.
She just said.
Yeah, oh, thank you, I'm sorry. Okay, next on the agenda, item number 16, ordinance 072026H, request to approve the voluntary annexation of approximately 1 acre known as the Brooks property.
Ross Hillary, Community and Economic Development, disregard the title there. This annexation is for a property at 13518 Promise Road, known as the Brooks property. This is approximately 1 acre, an existing single-family home. To the south and east of this is a new adjacent 9-lot subdivision that is coming through. With that opportunity, there was an ability to connect this property to sewer as well. With that, they are required to annex. The timeline for this is first reading tonight, with anticipated final reading and fiscal plan back here in August. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll open up the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak. All right, I'll close the public hearing.
First reading.
First reading, thanks, Todd. Thank you, Ross. Do we have any new or unfinished business? All right, now open up for community comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak may come to the podium and address the council. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will be given 3 minutes. And any comments that have been submitted previously have been received and distributed, and they will also be part of the record. So, hi.
Hi, I'm Nancy Gerald. I live at 13895 Meadowgrass Way, which is 141st in Cumberland. Thank you for finally finishing the 141st Street. It only took almost 4 years, but now the problem is 141st Street going from Harrison Parkway in is terrible. It's like where the trucks have all been. That really needs to be taken care of. It's awful right there. I also want to compliment you on how fast 116th Street and Allisonville has been done. It looks like it's about ready, and I'm amazed how quickly that went. I also want to compliment whoever does all the plants and everything around town. It's gorgeous. I drive a lot, so I see a lot of stuff. I double-checked with Larry. It seems like I heard that you were going to redo Cumberland between 116th and 106th. Well, I drive that all the time, and there's no problem there. The problem is 106th to 96th. It's awful. You have to do this going down there, and if there's traffic coming to you, you just rattle along. So it's really 106th to 96th that's the terrible situation. Also, Lantern Road between 131st and 126th. It's really narrow to begin with, and there's that beautiful walkway on the, whatever side that is. When you're going south, it's on your right. But Lantern Road has a couple little dips there, and it really worries me during winter or rain because there's no shoulder. And you come down and all of a sudden you dip right about 2 different places between 131st and 126th going south. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy.
Larry is correct in his reporting that Cumberland Road between 116th and 106 will be constructed starting spring of next year.
Any other community comments?
Good evening. I'm Brett Anderson, 43-year resident at 8899 Mole Drive. So my first question is in the realm of flock cameras that are taking pictures of everything. Is the city hooked in? Is the police department hooked in with that program? Are you aware? Anybody?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. I kind of don't like the lack of privacy when you're going around, but that's fine. On the Nickel Plate Trail over at 106 going eastbound, the trees are all overgrown of the, where you're approaching this way, going east. People coming down this way, the trees are all grown. You can't see anybody till the last second. A bicycle, and I don't know, people, they got the right of way. So you go slow, but another car, they just about smoked a bicycle person. So the trees really need to be kind of cut back at that point. My next question, parking at King Judd's that's a problem. Because people are parked everywhere down there again. Problem is that the visibility to pull out onto Lantern is pretty bad. And then I had a question over are there plans for stop lights or stop signs in front of the elementary school that just got redone on Lantern, where we just had our sidewalks put in a couple years ago? Because that hump that's there, it's a Dukes of Hazzard for some people. They are flying right over. It's awesome. If you sit and watch it, you can see pavement gouges for people going over. I don't know why I'm staring at you. Again,
That speed table is something that we're using for pedestrian traffic. I think what we would likely do is maybe what we've done similar on 126th Street, what we're doing on 131st Street, we could put some flashing lights to kind of identify that as a pedestrian area and slow people down.
something, I mean, like we've talked before with the sidewalk thing,
Yeah.
even further down, there's need to be some stop signs just to slow the exodus out of the city. Would be really appreciated, or put another hump down by Mole Drive, and I can sit on my front porch and watch them do that. That would be some entertainment. One other thing, last thing. A couple of months ago, and I was in a hurry to get up here and enjoy the fun and frivolity, but I got a letter about a structure that was down in my little drainage hole that's in my front yard. It's not even visible. It was from the city. I didn't appreciate the tone of voice that it was in, as you gotta fix this, and it was signed by somebody named Lucas. I called the number, got voicemail that was full, got no answer,
It's at 3 minutes.
and I got, oh man, I'm sorry. Oh well, you got the gist.
Yeah.
We'll, follow up on that.
Okay, any other public comments?
Ross?
Deb, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned.